Hi guys, it's Lauren. I am deciding to make a very vulnerable video today. I don't even know if I'm going to post it. Issues around power have been very up for me if you're into astrology. I have Pluto transiting my natal Mars for the last year and a half or so, and it's very loud right now. I have like tears right there. The issues around power and powerlessness have been very, very prominent. And there's so many shifts and transformations around that energy in my body. There's a lot more. I need to go back and look at these dates actually, because I've never put this together before. I've had a shoulder injury for the last year and a half. Same time frame. I need to look at those dates to see if that's accurate. It was September of 2023 that I got a shoulder injury, and it really prevents me from using my left arm for anything that requires strength, or the whole structure seizes up. And so, this is bringing up so much. It's been a year and a half. I did physical therapy for a year. I went to the doctors. I've gone to specialist doctors and finally got an MRI. I had to go through a whole dance and pony show to get an MRI of my neck and x-ray, and then MRI of that, and then x-ray, and then MRI finally of my shoulder. I'm sharing all this just because this has been a journey, but like, I don't know if you can, if this is true for you, if you're on this channel, it probably is, but it is just another thing. I've done all kinds of treatments on it to try to help, and conventional systems don't work, of course, because I don't have any problems in which conventional stuff works, and that's why I do what I do, because it was a last resort for me to figure out how the hell am I gonna heal all of this stuff. I mean, it's been one at a time, but this is just another one. And I just went to the doctor. He read the MRI results of my shoulder. This time I got it with contrast, because that's what you need to see labral tears. There's nothing structurally wrong. That should be good news, right? Well, I'm sure some of you can relate to the fact that that's incredibly frustrating, because I've been working to figure this out and make this better for a year and a half. The PT was a complete failure. There were no exercises that we found, except for one, that I could do without firing the whole system up and creating a tons of inflammation in here. So I've got to do this work. This is the work again. It's psycho-emotional. There are physical things happening in my body. There's no question about that. That's not ever a question with any of these types of things. But the question is, what's the root cause? Because when you get enough people saying, "You're fine, I don't know what's wrong with you," you're like, well, then what the fuck am I supposed to do? So I left the doctor's office and drove to the grocery store parking lot. And I was just feeling, so that was all the lead up to get to the crux of it, why I'm talking this through, is what emotion is coming up. Because it's bringing up a lot of stuff. The question always is, what is this bringing up for me? What is this bringing up for me? It's bringing up a lot of pain. I know you guys have experienced this. The grief of this life, of being, feeling different, feeling like you just don't fit any boxes. And then I hear myself say that, and I'm like, do I want to fit in boxes? I did. There's pain about feeling like you're just, because the boxes, the structures have been made the way they have, because that's fits and helps the norm, right? So, the idea, basically, the meaning that's very easy to take when you have enough situations like this is, I'm not normal. Now, I know not normal is good. We need more different people in this world to change what's definitely not working. We are all seeing that the world structured the way it is not working. But this false belief is still dying, because it's got pain in it. So what can I do to get to that pain? So when I first was driving away, I felt a wave of tears. So I had a well up, but then it sort of stopped. And I just felt this incredible wave of powerlessness. Powerlessness is a huge energy signature of chronic fatigue, because powerlessness and helplessness, learned helplessness, is part of attachment trauma. So this huge wave of powerlessness, and as you know, if you felt it, you just feel the whole system feels like it's powering down, going into freeze, and your body is getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And you just want to collapse. You just want to curl up into a ball and hide or die. I know this feeling very, very well. And a lot has shifted in the last 2 years in this. So I haven't had a wave this intense in a while, but it creeps in all these different spaces. And it's like when it's lingering in the background, it's kind of hard to work with, because I get intentional with it. And it's just, we need these like bigger trigger moments like today for me to really access it in full. That's my experience with it. I need that. So I parked and I sat in the car and I just let myself get so heavy. I just let it do what it wanted to do. Complete collapse. No muscles are moving. And one thing, I don't know if you've noticed this in your experience of powerlessness, but there's anger. But it's like, it's coming out of here. And for me, it's like this, there's like resentment that this is your life. And this is what happens when you allow yourself to really sink into these tough emotions. All the beliefs, all the ways of thinking, all the things that are disempowering, all the powerless thoughts and beliefs come up with it, because the brain is trying to match what's happening in the body to help you evacuate the emotion, to really feel it and ultimately love it. But that's a process. These are very hard energies to love, as you know if you've experienced them. To see the wisdom in them. And so I was sitting here, and as I was just letting my body do what it wants to do instead of fighting it, because that's the temptation, right? Our brains and how we've been programmed too is like, these energies are bad. You don't want them. So you need to do something to shift out of it. In my experience, because I've spent my whole life trying to do that, and it was a complete and utter failure. It does not work for me, but I think for all of us, for these emotions that are so deeply programmed into our unconscious, changing the channel doesn't do it. And when powerlessness is a prominent energy in your aura at any given time, in your cells, you cannot push through and force yourself to exercise, or it will bite you in the rear. So I just let myself, and I was in that state for I don't even know how long. It just feels infinite. What it feels like is I would have to sit here forever for it to go away, or a year. I mean, it's like I don't see how this energy could be satisfied by the time, before the time that I'm gonna have to leave. And I just noticed that thought. So this is one of the things I'm trying to speak to, is how I've learned to work with these kinds of energies. And so one of the things is, while you're in that state, you're allowing yourself to go into that state, and then you're also watching the thoughts and the beliefs that are coming up. And one of them is, this is my life. This has been my life. This has been my life. Doesn't matter how hard I try. Doesn't matter what I do. As I was saying these words, I can feel my muscles sinking again, getting heavy again, struggling to hold up the phone. Just letting yourself feel those thoughts, hear those thoughts, Feel the feelings. I'm going to have to lower my arm. Feel the thoughts that are, why do I keep saying that? Feel the feelings and hear the thoughts that are happening in your body. The ability to watch, be the observer of these things at the same time of experiencing the intense pain is what takes probably the most practice and work. Because we've got to get a lot of validation and do a lot of validating and de-shaming and somatic work, nervous system work. It takes all of those things to create enough distance and rewiring of the beliefs cognitively to prep ourselves, our neural capacity to be in these kinds of spaces and then observe them as they are here at the same time. And most of it is experiencing. We're mostly in the inner child, despair, hopelessness, like the body and mind experience. It's just this small little, and I experience it in the back of my head, it's like this small little observer or just ping of, I know this is going to be important. This experience, feeling this feeling again of powerlessness. I don't know why, I don't know what's going to turn into, but it's gonna. And then observing the thoughts, thinking about learned helplessness. Like, as I'm feeling all of this, I'm also thinking, this is learned helplessness. And I was thinking about those experiments that were done with learned helplessness. I don't want to talk about them because there's animal cruelty involved. So I was thinking about those experiments and how that translates to my original wiring from childhood. I tried to, which I am usually able to reach these days, but I tried to tune into a younger version of me, like an image. Nothing came, but that doesn't mean nothing will. Observing, but also just feeling that. It's like 90 or 95% sometimes. It's like the full body experience, like I am the wound, but we just need like 5 to 10%. It could be 1. Like, it can be any amount. Just this little pang in the back that knows this is a wound, this isn't actually you, and it's moving right now. I was watching for the tears, any waves, listening for any emotion to come up, and it just wasn't coming. Well, then I got a call from the pharmacy. This doctor prescribed like an anti-inflammatory just to help my shoulder calm down. I don't know, I might take it for a couple days. I don't know. I haven't decided that. I really avoid prescriptions. And the pharmacy called and said, because my doctor did not take my insurance, I can't fill the prescription with insurance, and that's going to be the same for physical therapy. And it just was like another obstacle. It's like, in my normal mind, it's like, oh, okay, I have to go and get another doctor to prescribe these things. It's not a big deal. But in this state, it just like plummeted me even more. I'm just like, I was not laughing. And that's what brought the tears. And not that many, but they felt very deep. Just those few tears. And I got a ping to record my experience of this. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm working on a whole revamp of the way I schedule and organize and time and energy management. Just another iteration of reprogramming happening in a big way. And the frustration of not posting more, not having the structure in place to do so. So I'm just kind of letting the energy pull me. When you're dealing with chronic fatigue, and I don't have chronic fatigue anymore, but I have the remnant trauma signatures. So it's the same. You've gotta let go of all the things that you have to push. And then we do all the shedding so that we can start moving through our life from pull energy. And that's a long process in my experience because there's so much that has to be reprogrammed. That's a huge bucket. Do everything from pull? There's so much to work through there. Just to mention one, the thousands of shoulds, have tos. The way we think about all these structures in our lives has to be reprogrammed. And so it takes a long time, but the concept is really helpful to like hold the intention for that, I think. But it's really hard, as you probably know, if you're doing this reprogramming work, and scary because it's like there's a long void. And that's true of physical stuff, like physical symptoms improving. There's this long void period of when you're doing all this shedding and reprogramming and you're not seeing the outcome show up yet. It feels so long. So like you put in all this work, you're doing all this shedding, all this, crying stuff out and emotional movement. And sometimes you'll have something shift quickly, but usually with these deep energies, when we're working with the core wound, the wound to our core sense of self that happens with attachment trauma, our core sense of self-worth, that shit takes a long time. I mean, the void energy feels so long. It's not like your existence feels like a void. That can be true though, especially when you're in the thick of like chronic fatigue symptoms. That void feels like a whole experience void. But in any part of the process, any part of your life that you're trying to reprogram, if you're doing it in this way, where like it's trauma related and you're healing trauma to reprogram something, there's like this long void. Like you're shedding and like the line is wiggling down, but the stuff that's gonna happen as a result of all this, you can't see it. You can imagine, you can wonder what's gonna happen, like, but you can have ideas of what might happen, but what actually happens, it's never what you think. That's what's so cool, actually. So I'm talking about powerlessness. Obviously, to me, it's very linked to anger. Inflammation equals anger that's being unconsciously shut down and repressed. Has not fully been like understood, seen, purged, loved, witnessed. Powerlessness and rage are two sides of the big pendulum or the big teeter-totter. What we want is in the middle, which is self-empowerment and healthy anger, allowing us to create healthy boundaries and go after, and the ability to say no, the ability to see what we want in our emotional needs and require them to be met in intimate relationships and so on. But just like our own self-boundaries and then our boundaries with other people, and that feeling to walk around the world in this self-empowered way. That's what we're going for, right? That's what we all want. We all know that. What happens with trauma in this place of power, because that's our power right there. It's the seat of our power. It's in our womb space and our solar plexus. I'm sorry, I just said my womb space because I'm a woman. Our sacral chakra, that's the seat of our power place. And it gets implemented through the solar plexus. That's how it feels to me in my body. What happens with attachment trauma, which is a sacral chakra wound, it's really all the bottom three chakras, but its sort of center point is there because it's relational. This is a relational trauma, relational wound source that's causing this issue. What happens is the pendulum, when you have experiences leading to learned helplessness, the pendulum gets swung way over here to the powerless side. As powerlessness is coming out and new energies are coming in, you might experience a lot of rage. And it's like balance, and the rage work is really important, which I've made videos on. The rage work is really important because we need to be able to swing there to the opposite side, because we're working on decreasing the swing and we're trying to set in the middle. We get pulled into powerlessness like I have been today. I get pulled into rage like I was fairly recently. Was that yesterday? That's funny. But it was a completely different topic. And then I experienced a bunch of like empowered anger as well. And the rage was on like the extreme, like it doesn't go over to that spot usually anymore, but sometimes it does. In my experience, we've got to go the whole, like, let the pendulum swing. Shame gets mixed in there. Like there are lots of things to work with. But I bring all this up because anytime you have an issue that's related to inflammation, my shoulder, anger is an energetic part. And it's not anger that's being expressed. It's anger that's being repressed. It's anger that feels like it can't be spoken, expressed. It can be related to terror and fears and shame and just like the beliefs that we have around how dangerous anger is, or how it gets us rejected, gets the cold, emotional cold from other people. We lose relationships, or we get abused, we get hit, we get, it looks like different things for different people, but the energetic result can be very similar or the same, which is it's not safe. And it's not like it's a thought. A lot of times it's not, it's just an energetic thing that's happening in your body and it's showing up as inflammation because it's like anger that needs to be expressed and it's being all shut down. So like I've been aware of that, and it's been a year and a half. This is not healed. So my point to that is this is a long with stuff like this. When you're working with core wound stuff, it can take a long time, and I don't say that to be a downer. I say it actually to be empowering, because what can be the most disempowering thing is to have that keep feeding into this feeling of I'm defective, because that's the wound that so often comes up. That's the core wound, that there's something wrong with me, different about me, weird, just worthy of being judged and hated and not liked, rejected. So I say it to be empowering, like encouraging that just because it's not moving yet, it doesn't mean it's not actually moving. Like the energetics that are behind it are moving when you're doing this work, but the thing in your body might not be moving in a palpable way. There are definitely shifts that have happened in here, but the inflammation is still very loud, and the pain, because inflammation causes pain. Physical pain translates to emotional pain. So there's emotional pain being stored and carried here, and it's gotten so loud because it's here to be seen, and there's more for me to keep unpacking. And as I keep saying, I've been doing this for many years, but the power stuff has been very, very targeted and loud and challenging because the structures, emotional structures, they're so deep and ingrained. So that's an important thing to keep in mind, because it's very easy to go to the spaces of this has always been true, this is my life, and it's always going to be true, and like feeding into the powerlessness and helplessness that's here. So that's why time frames can help into like really work on holding the truth lens as best as we can, really seeing what's really happening. That it's one of the main things we're doing in this journey is like shining as much truth lens on this as possible, because when we've got chronic illness and chronic symptoms and chronic things happening in our bodies, especially chronic fatigue, we have so many lies in our bodies. It's crazy. As I talk about it, I'm noticing myself like the energy is moving up, and I'm coming more and more out of this powerless state. I'm going to continue to work with it, but I think I still feel remnants. I'll know when I stand up to walk how much powerlessness is still there. If I do post this video, I hope it's helpful. Please bear with me while I try to like revamp the way I do videos, the way I share. So I hope you're doing well on your healing journey. I hope you're having a good week, a beautiful day. If I post this, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Whether I post it or not, you're in my mind's eye as I speak, so I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.